Now, how can productivity be improved in Nigeria's agriculture sector? Now, CNBC caught up with Adesola Adeduntan, the Managing Director and CEO of First Bank of Nigeria and subsidiaries at the bank's Agric expo, themed Innovation for a Sustainable Green Economy.
At First Bank, we've been in business for 124 years. We've always been active in agricultural sector of the economy. We started this Agric expo last year. The primary purpose of this year's conversation at our expo is to take the conversation that started last year further. And for us, we've seen an increasing number of Nigerians moving back into agriculture. So for us, it's about innovation, it's about productivity. If you look at statistics available, the sector is attracting more and more people, but the productivity level seems to be going down. So that is actually where innovation needs to come in. If you look at the yield per hectare for most of the crop that we produce in this country is below the average that is expected internationally. So, and that's why it's about research, it's about making the outcome of research available to farmers. It's about mainstreaming agriculture to ensure that they become bankable or they become more bankable. So that's what the conversation today is all about.
Conversations about moving the agri sector all over the world, let's bring it down home to Nigeria, forward, have always centered on one thing essentially, the relationship between the public sector and the private sector. Now, I was privy to a chat with the Agric minister recently where he said, oftentimes it appears as though the farmers and the private sector, the banks, do not speak the same language when it comes to accessing finance for their productions. What do you think are essentially the issues?
Historically, that may be correct, but what you will notice is that in the last couple of years, the banking sector especially, we've innovated around that particular banker's customer relationship as far as it relates to agriculture. The central bank has also played a very pivotal role in terms of trying to de-risk the agricultural sector as much as possible. And if I take you back to the recent recession that happened in the country, you will recall that one of the major focus of this current administration is back to the land, i.e. everyone going back to agriculture. And that's been quite, the result that is coming out has been quite positive in terms of more and more people, like I mentioned in my introductory remark, are going back to agriculture. Like I said, now we need to move forward on how do we improve the productivity in that sector. If you look at some of the crop like rice, for example, the volume of rice that is being imported has gone down dramatically. Production of maize has also gone up, even though maize now has several alternative uses that has pushed up the average price in the market. So if you look at it directionally, things are moving in the right direction. What we need to do as a nation is accelerate the pace of all those development. Like I said, it's around innovation, which is the theme of our current this year's Agric Expo, is around more commercialization, is around mainstreaming agriculture. One of the master classes that we're organizing today is around High Agric, which is again making how do you use technology, digital, to assist farmers. How do you attract people that are well educated into the farming, into the agric sector? How do you support them? Regarding financing, the banking sector has been quite supportive. The Outgrower scheme, for example, has been a very huge success. But more importantly, the Bankers Committee has set up a fund where all the banks will contribute 5% of our profit after tax into that fund. That fund is available to virtually all the various sectors of the economy, but Agric in particular is a major area of focus. And you also provide equity. Equity is one major area where things tend to fall apart, because irrespective of how robust or how good a project may look like, the owners are expected to provide equity. And when that equity is not there, the lenders are unable to lend. So part of what this scheme by the Bankers Committee is set out to achieve is to provide early stage risk capital to ventures, including agriculture.
So ultimately, that should help to bridge the gap that we so seek.
Absolutely.
To bridge. Now, over the past year now, conversations about agriculture, accelerating agriculture, have been ongoing in the country. But when you look at the figures on paper, oil still remains the biggest money bringer to the Nigerian economy. We can't say that, as I said before, the talks have been ongoing. So the theme of the event today focuses on innovation for a green economy. That, for me, is taking the talks one step further. So what would you say? Where is the disconnect between the 1 year long of talks and the actualization to helping green, Agric, becoming a major contributor to the country's GDP?
I don't think there's a disconnect. It's a journey, and that journey has started. So that's the most important thing. The train has left the station. This train is already in motion. Like I said, what needs to happen is how do we accelerate the pace of transformation that is going on in the sector? How do we ensure that things are done very quickly and very rapidly? So, truly speaking, the train has left the station, things are working, but we need to increase the pace. Like I used the example I use around grains, for example, rice, maize, even animal husbandry. Things have changed, but we need to accelerate the pace of production. We need to make better yielding varieties of seeds. We need to get the disease-resistant strain of seeds across to farmers, and the same thing is applicable in animal husbandry. So those are the things that we need to do so that the yield on the average tonnage improves. Once we're able to work on the yield, then we're on the way. In terms of contribution to GDP, Agric still remains a substantial contributor. In terms of any foreign exchange, it's still relatively low now, but for me, our first challenge as a country is to grow enough food to feed ourselves. We're a nation of 200 million people, approximately, so the business of feeding 200 million people is a massive, massive internal business on its own, and that, for me, should be the starting point.
So for you now, let's focus on producing to feed the country.
And for export, ultimately. But the starting point for me will be, in terms of food security for a country of 200 million people, I think is the major agenda.
When we consider export, Nigeria still sits at the level where essentially what we export are the raw materials that we have. How do we think that we can, in the light of trying to speed up things, innovation, accelerating industrialization, how do you think that we can move from this point to the point where we actually do maximize the returns from our resources by exporting finished products?
Again, that's why part of what we are doing today is also about moving up the value chain. So, for example, I mean, statistics are out there. When you export products or crops raw, and when you enhance the value by processing them, the value, the earnings are in multiples. So it's a no-brainer that we need to move up the agri value chain. There's a process, like I said, it's a journey. So you start from production. As you are improving on your production, you begin to put in infrastructure that enables you to process. So again, those are the kind of conversation that we're going to have in several master classes today. And for us as First Bank, the expo is just to demonstrate our continued support and interest in growing the agricultural sector.
In a general sense now, tell me what you think specifically of the role of the private sector in moving Nigeria's economy forward.
I think the private sector has to be in the lead. I've always heard, I'm of the view that the public sector's primary role is to provide enabling environment around regulation and providing the necessary support. But the real people that needs to be in the forefront of growing the economy, taking the economy forward, is the private sector.
Adesola Adeduntan there, the Managing Director and CEO of First Bank of Nigeria and Subsidiaries.